Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Tonight, I'm going to share my interview with my pal Julie Ahern from Greenbrier Games. So come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the grand poobah. Yes, I am the founder and editor-in-chief. Tonight is Wednesday, April 29th, 2020. This is episode 479 of The Daily Dope. This is your first time joining me. Just want to point out this is very, very casual. This is certainly nothing along the lines of rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Normally, I'm sharing the tabletop gaming news of the day, but with this COVID-19 pandemic, the news has been kind of spotty. You know, we'll get some one day, nothing the next. So what I've been doing is sharing some live playthroughs, some unboxings, some reviews, some interviews as well, like I've got tonight also. Also do want to point out, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. If you do, don't forget, ring that bell, because it will not only notify you when the Daily Dope streams live, Monday through Thursday nights, right here on YouTube, it'll also inform you when I upload standalone videos as well, such as tomorrow's Kickstarter preview of Legion of War. That will be up tomorrow. That Kickstarter is going to begin on Friday. Anywho, also do want to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, I do want to mention, because this is a live stream, that also means chat is available on YouTube. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do pay attention to chat as best I can. So if you'd like to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question, maybe a comment, by all means, fire away. I will do my best to respond. Now, I do want to point out that this interview with Julie Ahern was recorded a little earlier today, so I am going to be hanging out. So if you're watching and you jump into chat, I will be hanging out there as well. So do want to jump on into the interview ASAP. Then once that's over, I will also talk about what's on the horizon for tomorrow's show as well. So do want to mention, earlier today, I had an opportunity to talk to one of my good pals in the industry, Julie Ahern of Greenbrier Game fame. We talked not only about what's current, what's on the horizon for Greenbrier, but we also talked about some projects that Julie has outside of Greenbrier Games. And we even talked a little bit about role-playing games. And I found out Julie's been playing role-playing games forever. I had no idea. She's never mentioned them to me. We always talk about board games. So I was very surprised. So without further ado, let's kick back and enjoy my interview with Julie Ahern from Greenbrier Games. My good pal, Julie Ahern from Greenbrier Games, is joining me today. We are going to chat because I believe both our states have us hunkering down.
Oh, goodness, yes.
So we're going to talk about what's cooking at Greenbrier. We're going to talk about some stuff that, some irons that Julie has in some other fires, and some other items of note as well. So first off, good to see you.
Well, it's
What's
good
cooking?
to hear you.
I know you don't get to see me because I have to use my camera to record my side of it.
Okay.
Trust me, it'll be worth it when you actually see the finished product.
I look forward to it. You know, it is really good to talk to anybody outside of my little wizard's cave here. Uh,
Your bunker in a unnamed location in Massachusetts.
Sure, we'll say that.
Really? Where are you hanging?
Currently, I'm in Florida.
What is it? Everybody's in Florida now?
Well, you know.
So, did you move next door to Bonacore? Because I know he won't let Tom Vassell move next door.
No, although, man, I kind of wish I do. But funnily enough, my parents live near Bonacore.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So when I go to visit my parents, I can go to his house. Except that when I get to my parents, anytime I try to leave, they're like, "Where are you going? Why are you going? You don't love us? You don't want to spend time with us?" So I don't. So I never get to see him.
Right. See, now, strangely enough, I thought you were in the Boston area, but
I have been a lot in the past year. It's been
okay,
because the company is based in Massachusetts,
I
closer to
know
Worcester.
that.
But so
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in Massachusetts to go to the offices and stuff. But I don't live there. I'm kind of a nomad.
That was something I had mentioned to Steven last week. We did an interview, and I mentioned I said it's really weird to see both Steven and Julie posting on social media, and they're at home. They're not out and about, crossing the world.
It feels weird. It feels weird. It's very strange. I mean, I don't hate it. I'm actually an introvert, so it's not a terrible thing for me. I think I live on half battery life at all times for internal energy. But, you just power through, and then you eat some junk food and you drink some coffee and you're good. But this has been, so on the one hand, it's been really nice because I feel like I've charged up a lot of my reserves for dealing with talking to other people.
Sure, right.
But it's also makes me nervous because it took me so long to get to a point where I was just comfortable talking to everybody and having, like, at a big convention, having all those people, that I feel like the next one, that, like, when we get to another convention, who knows when that's going to be, but when it happens, I feel like I'm going to have to make, like, a little hidey hole or something and just, like, peek out every once in a while in my booth and never, ever otherwise come out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. As opposed to Bonacore, who, goodness knows, must be dying. Not being able to see. Yes. Like, he must be dying. I almost want to, like, go just drive. I mean, it's a 2-hour drive, but still, just get out to, like, drive by the house and wave at him so that he feels like there's. Maybe can we get a?
So he feels loved.
Throw Bonacore parade. Can we have a Kickstarter for that, or a GoFundMe or something?
Steven had actually mentioned too that, he said, it sounds kind of selfish and all with everybody, going through what they're going through, and people in way worse situations than the two of us. Right. And he's like, but I really miss being out there.
He does.
Like,
he loves it so much. It's so much fun to watch him too. He is great for spectator sport of the visual variety. See him.
He's especially entertaining with a few adult beverages in him.
Well, I mean, he not that he's crazy about it, but yeah, he's
no. I'm saying he's a lot of fun. I'm not making fun of him. I actually had the first opportunity I've had to sit down and have a few drinks with him was at Origins last year, and we had a blast. Yeah. Because Bill joined us from Bill, who does all the art and graphics for.
He's lovely.
For Stronghold. Yep. Oh, he's a riot. He's hysterical. Yeah. All right, enough talking about everybody else. Let's talk about you and Greenbrier.
Sure, let's do that.
So last we had talked, and unfortunately, it looks like we might not be talking again in person till 2021 is going to be my guess.
Probably.
That's kind of my guess. Last thing we had talked about, I know we were discussing that you had a new Vengeance kind of a trimmed down edition of Vengeance coming out, and there was also Barbarian Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
Is it an expansion coming for that, or is it like a new revamp?
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So yeah, Vengeance. Vengeance was an expansion. It was adding. So the biggest critique that most people have of Vengeance is that you feel like you're playing solitaire with other people. There's a lot less player interaction. Yes.
Yeah.
So this was an expansion called the Director's Cut that adds a lot. So you can play as, you're the anti-hero, but as an anti-hero, you're not a hero. You're not a nice person. You're out for revenge. So you can mess with other players now and be an informant to some of their villains to clog up their mess with them during their attacks, because now the villain knows that they're coming to help. So that that you're getting those people off your back so that you can go attack yours. Of course, they're doing it back to you. So that's the Director's Cut, which is now out. Kickstarter backers have just gotten their thing, all of their shipments, or it's mid-process. So release-wise, it's probably going to be, on our web store first, because the retail release right now is a little tough. But yes, that should be coming out.
You've got no way to get it out to anybody.
And then, so the Long Strange Trip of Bears. So we started with making our.
Do I need to start playing some Grateful Dead here?
Or, like a fiddle and like a crackling fire. We're out like a campfire.
What a long, strange trip it's
been. Or that,
been.
yeah. Know, I like some Dead too. Either way, you do what you want. But what happened was we asked Ian and Walter, the designers of Barbarian Battlegrounds, for an expansion a while ago. And they said, sure. And then, many moons later, they handed me 75% of a game. It was way too big. It wasn't an expansion, and it was massive. And it did a lot of
It was Barbarian World.
Right. It was.
Right.
And it was almost an entirety of a game. So I took it away from them because they couldn't keep playing with it because their time was up. And we developed it in-house. I tried it out as just an expansion, and I started trying to pull things off of it to make it an expansion. And I was like, nope, that doesn't feel right. So I put everything back, and then I started adding more to it. And I went back to Walter, and I'm like, here's the complete new game in the next iteration of Barbarian Battlegrounds that I finished for you. And he was like, that's cool. I was like, great. Then that's what we're doing. So no, it is a new standalone game called Tales of Barbaria. But there was, and I wrote an entire blog about my process of the journey it's on BGG, of starting off. I'm like, it's an expansion. And then like a couple weeks in, I'm like, it's really not. It's not an expansion. It is a standalone game. So
it evolved.
It did. And so we did some really cool things. I got to work with some really cool designers, getting their input as well. And, making sure that it's balanced from 2 to 6 players at this point. And it does have more to it. So if Bears is more of a weight of a 2, like a 2 weight, this is solidly a 3. It is a mid-weight game. It is, there's more to it. There's less swinginess to it, I would say. There's more of a Euro feel. And
so a little less randomness.
I mean, you're still using your dice, but but there are absolutely 3 distinct pathways that you can take to win, that are much more developed, I think. Both with what Walter and Ian did, and then how I fleshed it out. So it got a lot of love before we decided, and it's going to Kickstarter June 2nd.
So that's going to go to Kickstarter.
Yes.
Okay. Cool deal. What else is cooking with Greenbrier?
Well, so it's been strange because I had to switch gears in the last couple weeks, and a lot of what we've been doing, Folklore's manufacturing is wrapping up, so we're looking at when we're releasing that and whether we're going to Kickstarter backers will get it long before it goes to retail, I'm guessing at this point.
Sure.
But in the meantime, there was a lot of wondering what we're going to do, pushing back production of things, or at least when we're going to sell. So what are we doing in the meantime? And it was a weird, I've been doing other writing, as we alluded to, but in the meantime, while I've been working on developing games and saying, okay, well, those are now, when are we releasing them? Okay, we don't have to rush on that. We can kind of, it's in the queue, but when are we putting it out? And while we're doing this and kind of just getting things ready, but not amping up our production or manufacturing of it, I get a message from Zach, and he goes, "Hey, what do you think the stats are for toilet paper?"
That's
and immediately it was like, it's sensory from, like, I was transported 8 years earlier. We were doing Zpocalypse. He didn't even have to say the game.
Yeah.
I knew he meant Zpocalypse when we would do stats for everything. What's a weapon? What's an item? What can you build with it? What can you make? Like that was our constant game of back and forth. And he hasn't done it for me in 8 years. He did it, and down the rabbit hole we went. So we are finishing off a standalone print and play for Zpocalypse that we finished in, like, we did the bulk of it in 4 days. It took no time. The polish is taking a little bit more time, but like it was so we have that, which I was working on this morning, that will be a solo or 2-player game, because it's meant to be for while you're here at home, staying safe, so you can't have a big group of people playing. And it's adding some new mechanics as well, and because of that, it's I know. Like, we added some stuff. We simplified a lot of things. We added some new things to it, because what you're doing is you are traveling out in the world trying to find the people in your party who left to go get supplies and never came back. So you are traveling. So it's played more like a progression, almost more like an RPG than the original game in some ways, because it's a progression of days.
It's less tower defense and more.
The tower defense has been scaled way back, and the trading aspect and the searching aspect has been bulked way up. So that happened. And then for folklore, we've been doing a lot of releases of print and play things that we had kind of half written and have been developing just as replayable, like, so that the product that's already out there has new material to use. So I've been doing a lot of that, which is fun.
There's a new expansion for folklore, right?
Follow the Spire, like I said, is being manufactured. I actually got we had approved the expansion, the giant box that holds all the miniatures. We had some back and forth we were still doing, and we just this morning approved that. So I actually was writing an update that hasn't gone out yet. That we got the little, like, we were, fine polishy kind of things that we weren't happy with. So that the creature crate has now been signed off on, which was the last thing. So they've been making the Follow the Spire has been pretty well set. The expansion, this big box of minis, is now being finished. So that's.
And then, of course, the reprint of the core game, which does not feature miniatures anymore, correct?
Right. You have standees, so that it lowered the price point, but also, you have you can get the miniatures separately for miniature colors.
Oh yeah, right. But that's what's going to be going out to the Kickstarter backers, correct? It's the core game we're talking about.
Core game, yes. The core game has standees. All of the first expansion, you could also get Dark Tales and Follow the Spire. All of them have standees in it, and then that's why I'm talking about the creature crate is literally a cube of miniatures, so that if you want to buy them separately, you can. And it's not small. I sent a picture out in our last newsletter that has Zach's daughter, who's one, standing next to it. It's great for scale.
Sure.
It's a fun thing.
The reason why I was asking about that is because, of course, I did the review for Folklore and then Dark Tales, which included the miniatures. And then they've actually contacted me through email, even recently, asking, so I know there's a new Folklore core game coming out. Does it come with miniatures? And I'm like, no.
So one of the hard things about that is we keep having to contact people who are using pictures like when they sell them online. If there's an Amazon or if any of the companies that, not like if you go to your local game store, you know what you're getting, you can pick up the box. But people who sell it online will use pictures, and they're using the old pictures, even though
I was going to say, I bet you they're using the old box that shows, includes so many miniatures.
Correct. And we've had to contact, and we do, as soon as we see them, we contact them immediately and say, please take down this picture. Here's a picture to use instead. We are
cease and desist.
Right. But this is misrepresentation of what you're selling. And some of them are good about it, and some of them they don't
ever hear from.
So it's hard. So we get the emails as well. And but
I thought it was kind of funny though, because rather than say, you do realize I don't work for Greenbrier Games. I'm like, yeah, okay,
don't you?
Here you go.
Don't you though?
No, because to be honest, I don't even know if the B is supposed to be capitalized in Greenbrier or not. And it seems like no one at the company knows either.
No, it's lowercase, but the logo, the person who designed the logo made it a capital B.
I was going to, because I see both all the time, and I'm like, so which is it? I'm like, is it lowercase? Uppercase? What's going on? All right, so that's what's cooking with Greenbrier.
Yeah.
So there is a Kickstarter out there. It's a little Kickstarter. I'm not sure if anybody's actually really heard of this that is on Kickstarter right now. I believe you are a guest designer for it. It's something called, I think it's called Frostgrave. Is that the title of it? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have, I don't know. I think it's got a handful of backers,
just
right?
Couple,
three.
Oh my goodness. No, so that was amazing. And of course, Isaac is such a wonderful, lovely human being. And I've now known him for several years. He's also right outside Chicago. So,
really?
And
I have never met him. I have never played Gloomhaven, so
you really should. It's good.
I just, I joke about it all the time. It was the most popular game that no one seemed to own. Because you couldn't get a copy.
I know, it was crazy. But I met him at I think Grand Con, many Grand Cons ago, and we're both vegan.
Right.
So
well, I know you are. Yeah.
So it was one of those. He's very introverted, and he has all the patience in the world for his fans who come up to him and talk to him, but it's clearly not his comfort zone.
Sure.
In person, online, he's really, really good about responding, and in person, he's very gracious about it. But it takes a lot out of him. So he's not somebody to go up and be like, "Hey, how's it going? What's your name?" And when people come up to him, he seems kind of closed off.
He's the anti-Bonacore.
Yeah,
I get it. Right.
So,
you have paladins, anti-paladins. He's the anti-Bonacore.
So we met, and it was like a group of the people there weren't a ton of publishers, but like anybody who was in the industry, who we all went out to breakfast. Sure. And I noticed we went to a place because everybody there were cinnamon rolls that were like this big in diameter.
Wow.
And it was like, we gotta have these cinnamon rolls. And of course, they're clearly made with like lard and butter and like all things that I'm sure are delicious, but I'm not gonna eat it.
Right.
And he and I were like, oatmeal, and I looked across, I was like, yep. This is good. I have an ally. So I after walked over, we were at a big table, a lot of people, and I walked over, I was like, so you're vegan? And he was like, oh yeah. I was like, awesome. So from now on, we're sharing, when we go to conventions, I'll let you know when I find someplace. He's like, oh, cool. So that's how we met. And that's really for years, was back and forth about, I would text whenever I found a good vegan restaurant at a convention.
Sure, right.
Um,
It's only a 30-minute drive.
sometimes, you know,
Yeah, right. Sure.
I'll go to Target and get cereal bars. I'm not proud. Uh, so yeah, that was how our friendship started. But it wasn't until a couple years later that we finally played a board game together or talked about like work or anything. It was
Oh, wow.
so I was actually really excited to be asked because while we both work in very similar narrative driven, big sandboxy, miniature based games, we don't really spend a lot of time ever talking about our games. So I didn't know that he would think about me in that context. So it was really cool. It
Sure.
was awesome.
Right.
And I'm really excited about it.
So what are you doing with it?
I'm writing a scenario. They have like a bunch of us doing different scenarios.
Just leave us hanging. It's like, what's Julie doing with the game? What's
Well,
going on? It's secret.
it is secret because he
Right.
has like, I think he has to organize once he got everybody. I think that just happened as the Kickstarter was going. So I think he has to kind of now shape how he wants us all to do stuff.
Sure.
So he basically said, here's the plan. We're going to announce you about a month after the Kickstarter wraps up. I'll kind of be like, okay, here's the deal. Here's what I'm looking for, big picture. And I don't know if we're going to get to pick or he's just going to be like, too much. You get this.
Right.
Go
Okay.
with it, which is fine. I'm okay with whatever. So that is one of several big games that I get to do a little guest writing and designing for.
So what are some of the others that you can
know,
share?
There's at least there's two
what else
more,
is
and I
going
don't know if I'm
on?
allowed to talk about them.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
But they are of
That's
the same
fine.
genre, and I'm really excited about both of them. One of them has to do with more of a goth theme. Let's leave it at that.
Okay. All right.
Much more gothic. That has already been on Kickstarter and funded and like a while back. And then one, but actually both of the others have also been on Kickstarter and funded and are in the final stages. So yeah, it's also, I've been filling my time.
So one of them is a brand new game. It's called Gloomfrost. So that's one. And somebody else is piggybacking on the whole Gloomhaven, right?
No.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you about, unless there's any other, kind of industry related items that you want to toss out there. Okay. So I noticed the other night that you had posted something on social media and it looked like you were getting ready to play some Numenera.
Yes.
Remotely.
Yes.
And I had absolutely no clue that you play role-playing games.
Really?
I love that look. You're like, zoinks! What?
Since the 4th grade, man.
Hey, woman, I didn't know, because you've never mentioned...
No, that's how I got started.
That's how a lot of people got started.
Second edition was my introduction into the... Yeah, in 4th grade.
Yeah.
And all the way through middle school, had the same group.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Gabe and Nima and Shrikant. My brother sometimes played.
Oh, wow.
And I've been playing for, now I haven't gotten recently I haven't played a full campaign in 4 years.
A long time?
At least. Because I've done one-shots here and there, but I haven't gotten to play a campaign for a while. And I think the last thing I did I was doing a campaign for was Pathfinder.
Okay.
I was a pirate captain. It was kind of awesome. It was kind of awesome.
All right.
But yeah, so this is the first, and Jeff, not Jeff Gracia, president of the company, but Jeff, who's been since the beginning, has been playtesting for us, is GMing, and Zach is playing, and then Jeff's sister, and then somebody else who also does some demoing for us, Jason, but he also does like in the industry. He demos for a lot of different companies. But what's hilarious to me is the only RPGs I have played in the past 4 years are still Monty Cook, but it's been No Thank You Evil with my nieces and nephews.
Right, sure, yeah. The one that's actually aimed at smaller
But it's
kids.
the same system. It's still the Cypher system. So I'm dying laughing as we're going through because it's a system I haven't done. And as they're explaining stuff, I'm like, oh, this is still this is No Thank You Evil. This is like bulked up No Thank You. It's the same, like, which totally makes sense. It's the same company. But I was crying laughing because I was like, they're like, okay, so you have these 3 pools that you of stats to use, and I'm like looking at it, I'm like, oh, it's fast, strong, and smart. Just like
wait a second, I know this.
The same, like the whole system is set up. I am a adjective, noun, who, verbs.
Yes.
No Thank You Evil.
Yeah,
does the same thing. I am a sneaky ninja who bakes. Like it was the same. I was crying. I was like, oh no, I'm good. We don't have to go through this.
Right. You're like,
I played No Thank You. I did
like
3 ongoing No Thank You Evil campaigns with 3 different kids, like families of kids. My nieces and nephews, and then my 2 best friends, their kids. We had 3 separate campaigns. I had 3 separate campaigns going of No Thank You Evil that I GM'd for a while, which was the only RPG I was doing for 4 years.
That's pretty wild.
So I'm pretty psyched to be doing grown up, bulked up No Thank You Evil now. Pretty excited. Almost got killed by worms with teeth in our first, I can't remember what they were called, but they have like protruding giant ears and arms sticking out of them. And I used sentient slime to kill them. So that was exciting.
Nice.
Yeah. For our first
but I thought it was funny because I just recently started, running a role-playing game remotely for Call of Cthulhu.
We joked about doing Call of Cthulhu, but it being too real to life right now.
Well, it was kind of funny because it was Elliot Miller. You know my best friend, Elliot.
I do.
Of course.
And tell him I say hello.
And my nephew Cameron, who you've met.
Tell him I say hello.
And Cameron's girlfriend. And we played just a real introductory adventure. And the funny thing is, I don't think an investigative game is the right fit for my nephew and his girl.
Yeah.
It was very, very strange. And it's almost as if younger people today are just so used to having like entertainment like in their face. So they don't have to imagine stuff. They don't have to it's always like, oh, I'm just responding to whatever the game is putting in front of me when they're playing video games.
Yeah.
Whereas, so like Elliot is sitting there like, oh, well, because, that's what he grew up on.
You role play.
There's like, let's do this, let's do that, okay. And the kids are kind of like along for the ride. And they're not really kids. My nephew's going to be 19 this summer, and his girlfriend, I want to say, is 17.
Yeah.
But so now we're going to move to Traveler. So science fiction.
Nice.
And we'll do a lot more action.
Interesting. Well, I feel like if you're starting, that is, unless you're used to carrying your own weight for storytelling, it is an easier, like, I know that I can play with my niece and nephew because not just No Thank You Evil, but we played Once Upon a Time. We've played, like, we've done a lot of stuff where I supported carry your own narrative. Give me buy into it. But if you don't do that, if you're playing video games where the narrative is provided for you and then it's really hard there is a disconnect. Like we decided Jeff was looking for stats for Zach, and Remy and I decided that we were going to start our own acrobatic team when we got back to make money. And so we carried on this little side conversation about she's a Jack, which is kind of a rogue character, and she's playing it very much like a Kender. And I'm a glaive, which is a fighter, and I'm the straight man. And she's like, well, you're big and strong, so you could throw me in the air and you'll catch me. I know you'll catch me. And we're doing this back and forth.
Sure.
And the whole time that Jeff is just trying to look up stats for Zach to fill the time, because why not? Like that's something that, like, if you're not used to playing an RPG,
And yeah, I was gonna
you
say,
would just wait.
and most people,
It would be a
right? It would just be silence,
Right.
and you'd hear pages
Right.
flipping. You're like, But I thought that was hysterical. I had no idea that you played role-playing games.
No, I love them.
So
I never have time for them anymore, but I love them.
I know it's kind of strange that with what's going on in the world right now we suddenly have time for these kind of things.
Well, that was and that was it. So I have Jeff was like, because this is happening, you want to do this? We can do at least like an 8-week campaign and then see where we're at. But I was like, yeah, I can. Yes, actually, yes.
Cool.
And then there's a group of us that play a lot of party games on Zoom once a week.
Ah, I see now. I just got a brand new party game that I cracked out for a first look at, and it's called Half Truth.
I've heard of it. I haven't played it.
Richard Garfield and Ken Jennings from Jeopardy fame.
Yeah.
Looks interesting. Looks very Wits and Wagers-ish.
That was the impression I got.
If you're a fan of Wits and Wagers. So
I mean, especially right now, I think so. I've played a lot of what do we like? Just One, because like you have to find games that you can play.
Yeah, right.
With people on Zoom, right?
Yeah.
So
we've been using WebEx, so I know what you're talking about. So, anything else you want to share with our viewers today?
No, I mean we covered pie beforehand, but I feel like that's something that's for another day. And we've talked about what's going on with the company, and I'm hoping everybody's staying safe and being careful and taking care of themselves and not going too crazy. So thank you to all the people who have reached out and played or telling me how they're playing board games and how that's helping them stay sane in their small little groups.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that we are there for you and that you are playing our game still. So that's it. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself and staying at home and being responsible, unless you're an essential business, in which case please take care, and we're thinking of you. That's it.
Very nice. Or as I like to point out too is you got a choice. You can stay 6 feet apart, or you can just be 6 feet under. One of the two. All right, Julie, thank you so much for taking some time out today to chat. And hopefully it won't be too long before I get a chance to see you in person.
I know, for real.
Take care. All right, so that is my interview with my good pal, Julie Ahern from Greenbrier Games. So hopefully everyone does understand when we were talking about the big Kickstarter that she was part of, and I said Frostgrave, that was a joke. It's supposed to be a joke. It's Frosthaven, of course. That's why she started laughing, and I'm like, yeah, there's a couple of backers, two or three, something like that. So yes, of course, it is Frosthaven that she is part of as far as a guest designer. Anyway, so got some folks hanging out in chat. We've been going back and forth a little bit during the interview as well. So wanted to say hello to a Gray Day. Paul Nolan has popped in. Haven't seen Paul in a while during the live show. We also have Viper Dave as well as Flaming Huron all hanging out. So did want to talk about what's Jeff. Yeah, Flaming Huron's like, Jeff jokes? No, I'm 100% serious all the time. I have no sense of humor whatsoever. But wanted to talk about what you can expect on tomorrow's show, as well as there will be a standalone upload for my preview, my Kickstarter preview of Legion of War. It's a card game we took a peek at. Took a look at some of the cards a few days back, and I will be sharing my Kickstarter preview with a little bit of gameplay info and some thoughts about it. You want to point out, it's not going to be a review. I don't consider those to be reviews. especially since it is not really the finished product. There's still a lot of cards that do not have artwork, but are still in the approval stages for the game as well. And I believe they're actually making some tweaks to the gameplay too. So that's why I don't necessarily consider that to be a review. But on tomorrow's live episode of The Daily Dope, I will be unboxing and taking a first look at the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Bestiary Battle Box. It is 450 cards. I thought it was over 450. I believe it's 450 exact, but it is 450 cards, which each show different creatures from the Bestiary for 2nd Edition Pathfinder. And I keep mentioning this box has got some serious heft to it. So it is jam-packed. And we're going to dive in. We're going to take a look at a bunch of these cards. We're not just going to take a look at one or two. We're not going to look at all 450 either. But we are going to take a look at quite a few of those cards. So Flaming Heron says, yeah, the Pathfinder box looks good if it's got that many creatures. Well, we will find out. We will take a peek. As I mentioned on yesterday's show, when I do an unboxing, I don't even read the text off the back of the box. So I have no clue. All I know is I do remember that I had heard there were, I thought originally it was over 450 cards. Somebody shot me an email earlier today. They had watched the show and they saw, it's exactly 450 cards. I'm like, ooh, all right. Figuring, okay, we're going to find that out on Thursday anyway. So that is it for tonight's show. So I definitely appreciate people hanging out and watching the interview, seeing that, it's not like they could throw out questions or anything like that. It wasn't kind of an ask me anything sort of thing. But anyway, I do want to point out, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. If you do, don't forget, ring that bell, because it will not only notify you when the Daily Dope streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube, it'll also tell you when I upload my standalone videos as well. Do want to also point out that starting next week, we are looking at going back to the all news format, because we are starting to see more news popping out, both for board games as well as RPGs. So I believe we should be able to fill each episode with enough gaming news to keep us occupied. Fingers crossed, maybe. So those of you who, of course, were watching the stream live, definitely appreciate that. When you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. Get your geek on at gaminggang.com. I will be back tomorrow. So, of course, if you watch live, thank you very much. If you watch after the fact, maybe even on Memorex, thank you very much. Thank you to anybody who spent some time watching this. So enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night / Thursday afternoon, or Thursday morning, I should say. Duh. One of those nights, I see. Anyway, so until I see you next, be smart and stay safe. Oh, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. And of course, if you want to catch up on past episodes of The Daily Dope, check out this playlist. And if you'd like to see what YouTube's recommending you take a peek at from the channel, just give a click right over here. Of course, I'm Jeff McAleer, and once again, thank you very much for watching.